Welcome to the show, Karen from Sailor and Sons, and it is a shop that makes goods for military life. And I discovered you on Instagram, and you just share the funniest products that anyone in the military can like totally relate to. Everything you share is like, yep, been there, yep, had that happen. So I just want to say welcome to the show.
Oh, well, thank you for having me. I'm very excited.
Yeah, you're welcome. I know that you've said that like you guys have moved around a bunch. Kind of your husband's been in the military for a long time and that moving
hmm
kind of helps you be creative. Can you share a little bit about like your journey, where you've moved, what you've kind of done and like how you've drawn inspiration from the places that you've gone?
Yeah, so we've moved we when me and my husband got married, he was stationed in Bahrain, so like I was there for a little bit. Then we went to Hawaii, San Diego, San Antonio, Everett, Washington, Rhode Island, and then now back to San Diego. And it's just so easy to be inspired by the different places you live because naturally you just kind of like soak your environment up, right? Like you go to Hawaii or you go to Texas and you start like having these little twangs in your voice, or you start picking up the little, mannerisms of the local people. And for me, like Rhode Island was like a big inspiration to like just my personal style because
Oh.
it's just the coastal
Mm.
aspect of it, like kind of like vintagey vibe over there. That just seems like a dream. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is exactly like what I've been trying to get my style of my home to look like. And it's here. Everybody lives that type of lifestyle here, So like I love that kind of environmental inspiration. And then obviously when you move, like the quirks of the lifestyle that we live, like they're unavoidable, right? So even if like, active duty or like, dependents or just like whether you're into the military lifestyle, whether you're not, whether you're trying to avoid being associated with the military, whether you soak it all up, there are all these things, this like general like baseline of things that we all go through that you can't avoid, like moving
Yeah.
and the stressors of moving. Like, when is it not stressful? Who doesn't really move in the military? Very rare that people can homestead like for many years, but that's not the case for like 95% of the military population.
Yeah. Something you said just made me remember something a friend said one time. So when we were living in San Diego, I one of my college roommates came for a visit. Well, two of them did. They came at the same time, and I remember she walked in our house and was like, "Oh my gosh, your house is like such a California house." And I'm like, "I don't know what that means, but like we live in California, so I guess so."
Yeah.
It was just so
Yeah.
funny. Like she could like pick up on the fact that like you know you live somewhere very different from me, and you can like see it and like
Yeah,
vibe with it.
definitely. I mean, especially if you're good at picking out like local, local pieces or things that just represent the area, you just want to feel connected to where you kind
Yeah.
of live. And so you want to incorporate that in your house. Like I have pieces of driftwood from Washington that I found and now I use them as shelving. Like, and I'm just so glad that I was able to pick those pieces up because I love them. They're like one of my most cherished pieces of furniture, just driftwood that I found in the water that probably had like, what are they called? Like the fleas or the water fleas or what, I don't know.
Oh gosh, I
Yeah,
don't
so I
know. That
had to
sounds gross.
I had to soak them in bleach for a while in order to make sure
Oh,
like you don't bring in the little bugs that live in the
that totally makes sense.
driftwood.
Yeah.
But I love them. I have so many different pieces from where we live and I love that.
Yeah. Well, and too, like you said, it makes you feel connected. Like it would probably feel weird to like be in a space or wear something that's like, very Texan, but you live in Rhode Island or whatever. Like it's just, if you have like horse stuff, but you're near the beach, I don't know. It just seems, yeah, it will make you feel more connected if you kind of like soak in what,
Yeah.
what's around you. So
Exactly. Hmm.
yeah,
Yeah. And luckily we live by the water now. So like,
yeah.
what
Well,
I like to style with now isn't too far-fetched from where we
that's
live.
the best thing about the Navy, though, right? Is like you generally
Y-
are kind of coastal most of the time.
Exactly.
So,
Exactly. Yes.
yeah, except I'm in the middle of the country. But hey, it is what it is.
We were
Um,
in San Antonio, Texas, so it
yeah,
just you get those like oddball duty stations.
yeah. Well, we're here now. This is where he retired. This is where we are. So
Ah,
I've
okay.
come to embrace it at this point. So that's good. Which we're kind of close to family, which is I was going to ask you this too. Like, you've lived really far from family, but I know you said your family is kind of close to where you guys are now. So like
Hmm.
it's normal to like are you kind of like learn how to like celebrate and like do life and stuff with people that aren't your family, but then when you do end
Yeah.
up close, like how does that change? Or how does that look different whenever you do have family around? Because I feel like for us, we were gone for so long. And then now that we're back, it's like I kind of had to figure out how to do this again with like family close by because that's not been the norm.
Yeah, it definitely is an adjustment. And I think it's an adjustment on both ends, right? Like it's an adjustment for us to be like, oh, like we have family now that we like not in a negative way, but that we have to take it into like, into account. And then also our family doesn't understand certain aspects of like, wait, like you're having a family gathering, but you're having all these like, strangers like to them, but
Yeah.
they don't understand that we have to count on these strangers to become our family. Of course, we vet them, right? We do the whole speed friendship dating aspect of, trying to find very good, trustworthy, reliable friends. But sometimes they don't understand that, people, you have to quickly find family in order to survive this lifestyle because if not it just becomes very lonely
Yeah.
and it can really weigh you down. For example, like we got to Rhode Island and 2 months later COVID happened, and so we literally could not make a, a circle of a community. We had our one little pod family, which was great. I'm so grateful we had our friends Shelby and Brian, shout out to them, like for being our like little family pod. But other than that, like if they're busy, it's like, all right, what do? We don't have anybody else to like really have that connection with. And of course, that was an extreme measure, but that was also an example of like, if you don't make those connections with other people, it's very lonely.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, such a good point. I think it's funny, like talking about having to take into account your family, like whenever it's not something that you've had to think about before. There's been several times in the past couple of years since we've moved back closer to family where the kids will have something at school or whatever, and it's like we'll say something about it like weeks later or whatever to our family, and they're like, "Oh, you should have let me know. I would have come." And I was like, "Oh, like grandparents and aunts and uncles come to those
Yeah.
types of things. Like I just didn't even realize that that was
Yeah.
like that happened because I'm just so not used to it.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, it's just an adjustment, like you said, for both sides. But then I think on our family side, sometimes there was like this, oh, you're back, you're gonna come to everything. And it's like, oh no, like I don't have to come to everything. I'm not used to
Oh my
that.
goodness. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So another thing I was going to ask you too, though, like I know that you have lived in places where you had friends that weren't necessarily like all military, or you lived in areas that weren't like super military focused. So like, do
Hmm.
you have any like tips or advice on, the military allows us to like have these built-in friendships with people that we work with or like that we live close to because we all live in the same area or whatever. But when you are in a place that isn't mostly military, how do you like connect with like civilians and non-military people?
I mean, for me, I could say it's a little easier because I have kids, right? So kids
Yeah.
kind of force you out of the little bubble of like, hey, they're in these extracurricular activities, and then naturally you meet parents that way. So it for us, that's what kind of like what bridged the gap between like military and civilians was like getting our kid out in the local community doing things. And then you meet people and for me, that was in Washington, where it is obviously like Navy concentrated, not like it's not a super huge base, right? But in Everett. but there is military presence. But where our military housing was like in the middle of this little town. A lot of that town didn't even know there was a military housing establishment in their town. And the town
Oh,
was already
wow.
small. This housing only had like 140 homes, and they were beautiful homes. And I would tell people where I lived, and they're like, "Oh, that's military housing. We never knew that." And so it was like when I say small town, it's like football's on Friday. It's the biggest event every week, and there's an aqua fest that happens every summer in the little town square, and there's coffee. They call them like
Like
little
kiosk or
coffee
carts
stops.
or whatever.
Yes, little you just drive up to the little like it looks like the guard shack like when you
Yeah,
drive
yeah,
up to
yeah.
base little tiny and you just drive up, put your coffee order. There's tons of them like that, little shops, and it just feels so homey. And so for personally for me, like that's when my husband would leave a lot, and so like I need to find community. I already had community within like my housing, and like we had our military family there, but to help me with my son. And so like I ended up joining this women's football league that was associated with my son's uh youth football league. And that's
Oh,
what
okay.
really catapulted me into meeting people that had no association with the military. And then I was also selling wood signs at the time. I was making and selling wood signs. And so I started selling in the local shops. And so that was just like different avenues of getting to know not only like the local people, but in a way like myself too, because like you said, you have this kind of like built-in community a lot of the time. And so sometimes the conversations naturally end up going the same way a lot of the
Mm-hmm.
time. And so then you meet different people who have no idea what you're talking about when it comes to like certain military terms. And you end up having different types of conversation, and you end up doing different things that you've never tried before, or that even thinking about things that you've never taken into consideration. And so, like, I made so many friends there, and those are still the friendships that, like, I feel very connected to. And so, my whole time in Washington was very much like to me, it was very much like a dream. Like my husband, like would come home and he would coach our son, and like our son would like be very active in sports, and like I had like my business, and we were like very involved in the community, and it was just very ideal. So ideal that I think that I like really did myself a disservice by thinking like this is home, like this is where I want to be, and like of course that's the biggest lie that you could tell
Yeah.
yourself in this lifestyle is like, oh my gosh, this is home. And like very quickly you get slapped with like orders. And
Yeah.
you're like, this is not home. Like, this is not my home. Like that, I don't, even if I own this home, I'm not going to be here next year,
Yeah.
like, and it just feels like those are the kind of thoughts that kind of like really like get to me are the one day you're here and then the next you're not. Like you're just somebody's memory at some
Oh,
point.
oh, girl. Oh, that just like hit me. Whoa. Yeah. That's so true. Gosh.
And those like I don't like to think about it too much, but it's true. Like you're not just saying you're just somebody's memory, but that's what you are. You're not living that life in that town anymore, in that home. Like your kids aren't involved, and then like I start going like, oh my gosh, like my son just left all his friends, but his friends are still gonna be hanging out tomorrow. But yet tomorrow, my son's gonna be looking for new friends, or he's not gonna have friends until we get settled. And like you start thinking about all those things, and those are the things that really like make me sad about how we live. I'm very grateful for so much of this, but those are definitely the heavier thoughts of living this life.
Yeah. Gosh, that is so true. And I've never really thought about it that way, like being someone's memory. I find that like towards the end of being somewhere, like we have orders, we know when we're leaving, I like start disassociating. Like I'll like, and it's not, that's not healthy. I think it's maybe like self-preservation in a way, but like I
Hmm.
feel bad now looking back on it, knowing like I kind of stopped hanging out with those people because I knew I was leaving anyway, or like I
Yeah.
stopped going to the things because I had to get ready for the movers or like whatever. It was like, you have these things that you have to prepare for. And it's like, that was just kind of my way of like mentally preparing a lot of times of like, I'm going to just kind of like slowly back out of this whole situation so
Yeah.
it doesn't hurt as bad. But I know, but it is weird to think like all those people like still continue on as if,
Hmm.
continue on as if they were when you were there, but like you're not there anymore. And that's strange. And we get asked a lot, like you, like we've lived lots of different places, like, oh, where was your favorite place? And it's like, I can't really say one place is better than another. Like they were all good at the time that we were there. But also, I
Hmm.
always caveat with like, I don't think we could ever go back because it's not going to be the same. Like
Yeah.
those people have continued and we haven't been there, or the people
Hmm.
that we were there with are now gone. Like it won't feel the same, even if it was like a place we loved or whatever. And so that's kind of hard too, of like maybe you do feel like this place is home, but like even if you did go back, like it's not going to feel that way again. It
Oh
might
my
take a while,
gosh.
but it's just, yeah, the things we have to think about sometimes or like go through, which like kind of brings me to my next question of like, we talk about these things as if it's just like normal everyday stuff. Like, yeah, it hurts and
Hmm.
they're heavy or whatever, but like there's a lot of stressful things that we deal with, like moves every few years or whatever. And it always like, I think we almost like it becomes normal to us. And we know that like this cycle of stress is going to happen, but it's normal to us. And then I talked to somebody that like has never left their hometown and they're like, or they're like stressed because they're moving from like one house to another across town. And I'm like, that's like easy day, not a big deal. Like, but it's like weird to me that like other people, like we've normalized it so much that it really is stressful and we do go through a lot of stress. So like, how are you finding humor in those things to like create products and like fun things that kind of like make light of these kind of heavy, stressful situations?
Well, definitely if you don't laugh, you'll just cry.
Yeah.
And I don't, I'm just really blessed with a husband who is just funny. I'm married to a funny guy, so that definitely makes things easier when I'm like up here with the anxiety, and he's probably up here too, but he has the ability to override the anxiety with the funny. And so then that brings me down. And so then we'll switch at some point.
Yeah.
So that definitely helps to have a partner who like is able to like really laugh at things. But I mean, it's just all about outlook. Like, I really try not to be like self-deprecating when it comes to like my products or the content that I make, because I don't want to feed into like all the negative aspects of military life. But I do like to make fun of it. I do like to make fun of the hard parts because they are hard. And then when you look back, you do like laugh at these things. You're like, either why did I stress out so much, or wow, that was really messed up, but there's nothing I could do about that now. So
Yeah.
it's just perspective. And I just feel like there's like a lack of that kind of stuff out there. There's plenty of like, patriotic and like, go Navy, go Army, go all that stuff. And I'm like, yes, I love that stuff. Trust me, I make sure to go to the Navy Pride section at the NEX and go look at something. If there's something cute, I'll grab it. But like, not anything that is so specific to like these little uh quirks and these little like mishaps and like all those different things. And I'm like, I know there's people out there like me. I just have to find them. Like, where are you? And apparently they're on Instagram, like and that's where I've really been able to find another community. Um, and I had to put myself out there in order to find those people. They weren't going to find me.
Yeah.
I had to go and find them. Like, I had to go make things for the people that really connect with my products and with my humor. And I know that I'm not for everybody. Everybody's not for me as well. And that's another thing that you have to learn during this lifestyle, is that like not everybody is your friend. Not everybody, and that's the young military spouse in me was like, oh my gosh, we're gonna be friends. Like we think the same. And it's like very quickly you find out that not everybody has the same mindset, values, kind of marriage, like just personality. And that's how I go into making my stuff is I know not everybody is gonna love it. Not everybody's gonna find my stuff cute or humorous. And it's like, fine, like my stuff is not for you. Go somewhere somewhere else. Nicer
Yeah.
aspect, you
That's
know.
when you talk about like the Navy Pride section or just like all the patriotic stuff, it's it's so like to me it's just like so generic, like you said, like anybody, you don't have to be in the military. Anybody can be patriotic and love their country and have like a flag or whatever, go USA
Hmm.
or whatever. But like the stuff that you're selling is like so specific, which makes it so fun. It's like an inside joke, but like an inside joke that we've all experienced, like finding PCS stickers on your furniture from like three PCSs ago, or
Yeah.
um, like gosh, the sushi stuff lately has been killing me. But it's mostly because like so I'm not a huge sushi fan, but I had a gal I worked with on shore duty and she like we worked on the wet side of 32nd Street and she would legit go over to the commissary and get sushi like almost every day for lunch. It was so
Yeah.
funny. Yeah.
I mean, people love that kind of stuff. I love when people are like, "Oh my God, I thought that was just me."
Yeah.
And I'm like, "No, it's a lot of us, you know?"
Yeah. No, all of the products are like so fun and like cutesy. They're not like all red, white, and blue, which I kind of love because we don't all want to like plaster stuff in red, white, and blue. So
Yeah.
I think it's really fun. But we'll make sure that we put a link to your Etsy shop and your Instagram and all that stuff in the show notes too, so people can check it out and just follow you too, because like some of the stuff that you share is just really funny.
Oh,
Um,
thank you.
yeah, so funny. I do want to talk about, I know you've recently gone through kind of a health journey with breast cancer, and I want to say, congrats on getting through that and feeling better. And
Thank
you're kind of
you.
on the other side. But I think this is something, I mean, it affects so many people, either just people being sick or in the hospital, or they do have cancer or something like that. But like, how did your community rally around you during that time so we can take things away of like when we know somebody's going through something like this is something that really helps? Like, make your time easier, like fill you with like a feeling of love, like you did have people around you. What were things that people were doing that made you feel that way?
I mean, reached out, number one. I had friends just show up, like one of my best friends, she like literally the day after my surgery, she just showed up. She was at my front door. I had no idea. And she's like, I'm here. I'm making your food. I'm taking care of you. I'm sleeping with you. So like Ruben can get enough sleep also. And like he can take care of the kids and I'll take care of you. It's there's a sense of like sometimes you don't know what you need. And sometimes people do. And then there's people that just inherently want to take care of you. I had friends like send me like little care packages. My friend Katie, she just sent me a mug with like different teas and like, a book with like scripture in it. And she had gone through her own breast cancer journey too. She was actually the person who I credit to like possibly saving my life because she had posted a reel on her Instagram that she shared from somebody else, like how to do a breast exam at home. And I was like, you know what? I should probably start doing that. Katie was around my age, and I was like, I should start doing that. And I mean, it took less than a year for me to find a lump in my breast. Had I not been doing those self exams, who knows how long I would have gone before I either felt something or something was making me sick, or I hit the age of 40 in order to start getting seen for, a mammogram and stuff like that, because I was only 36 at the time.
Yeah,
And
gosh.
that's 4 years. 4 years for, cancer to definitely do some damage in anybody's body. I could have just been walking around with cancer in my body for years and not had been detected. So that like community was such a big part Like they just really took care of me. And I'm so grateful for that because it just made me feel loved. And sometimes in this lifestyle, you do feel like forgotten, or you feel like, okay, like, do am I really making these types of friendship? Am I really making like deep friendships? And it's times like that. Unfortunately, like it's times like that where, God's like, yeah, these are your friends, these are your family, these are the people that love you. I gave them to you. Here's proof. Like, do you need any
Yeah.
more proof, Karen? Like, so it was amazing. And for me, like joking about it was number one. Like I tell people, like, we're making breast cancer jokes all the time. Once the shock wore off, it's like, breast cancer joke here, breast cancer joke there. Like my husband or like my oldest son would ask me to do something for them and be like, sorry, I can't right now, like, and they
Oh
would just
gosh.
laugh and stuff. So it's just like, it's stuff like that, I can just laugh. Yeah, because I don't know. I'm just a person. If I don't laugh, I'll cry, and I'm a mess, and I'm ugly when I cry, and I just don't want to be that.
Oh, that's funny. Gosh. Well, it's just a good reminder for all of us too. And I know you're like so creative with how you like remind people to like check them on the first or whatever. Like I always
Oh
do that and I'm
yeah.
like, oh, I should do that. I don't, but I should. But it's always like every month it's
Me.
like themed and it's like a little bit different to like what's happening that month or what, and, what's going on in the world. So I think that's really fun to like use your creativity in that way too, which is cool.
Yeah, I mean, I feel that if I could help one person just like my friend Katie helped me, like that's who it would be for, I mean, I hope I'm able to reach a lot of people, but if it just saves one person, yeah, I'm gonna be putting my feel it on the first reminders every month for the rest of my life because it is important. It's very important to be proactive about breast health and not to see, boobs in a certain light just for, in a certain aspect, because these things are real. Like I just had an aunt who got diagnosed over like maybe like 2 months ago. And it's like, wow, like now there's two people in our family. And she's my aunt by marriage, but it's like, wow, like we're in the same family and now there's two people going through this. And that's two people more than I ever thought would be in my family to get cancer because nobody else in our family has really gotten cancer before. But two of us to be getting breast cancer within like years of each other, like 4 years of
Yeah.
each other, that's just it's kind of scary.
Yeah. No kidding. Gosh, well, I'm glad you're through it, and I'm glad that we all can take some encouragement from you that, if we are going through something, and it doesn't have to be that, but, just something hard to just like make light of it and joke about it, and
Yeah.
it'll help you get through. So, we're going to move on to these last call questions. I just want to thank you
Yeah.
again for being here and make sure I remind everybody that we'll have your links in the show notes to check everything out there. But let's get into these kind of fun little things. I'm really excited to hear about this first one. What has been your favorite party that you've ever hosted?
We threw a 90s party in Washington, and I don't know what sprung this idea. I have no idea. We weren't celebrating anything in particular besides the fact that, I don't know, we just thought it was time for us to throw a party. And it was amazing. Everybody came dressed up. Everybody came ready to just be in that zone, in the 90s zone. And this was like before like the whole 90s thing was like really growing, like getting popular again. So I was really surprised, like looking back now, how people went in on like really just in on this theme. They were excited, they were happy, and it was amazing. We lived in housing at the time. We had a friend who was a DJ, and he brought like his DJ stuff. We actually had the cops called on us twice, but like
Oh my
for the
gosh.
music being so loud, and like people in our housing page were like, it was like half like, oh my God, what's that noise? They need to turn it down. And half of like they're like, no, we want to hear the music. Like, let them play the music, you know? And it was pretty funny. But that was a great party. That was an awesome party that we had.
Yeah, I mean, if the cops are called, goodness, that's it's a good one. That's
Yeah.
good. We when we lived in San Diego, as most houses are there, we had very close neighbors and we threw like before kids especially and even after, but especially before kids, we threw some like pretty large parties, like 50 plus people, taco truck, like lots of music
Oh,
also. And
wow.
we always like reminded our neighbors or like told them, "Hey, we're gonna have lots of people over. It's gonna be loud. You're welcome to come if you want." And they
Yeah.
they never showed up, but they never like complained either. So I think it was helpful to like just let them know, like it's gonna get loud and crazy. But
Yeah.
yeah,
Hindsight, I
okay,
should have done that, but I didn't think that. I did
yeah,
not think about that.
it's hard to remember it all. So okay, what is your the best community you've been a part of, and what's made it so great?
Washington, I would say. Again, like how I mentioned before, just having that I had both. I had that military family and I also had like the local community. And like that 90s party was a perfect time to like mesh both of those, both of those worlds. Yeah, and then, like, my son really Washington was the first place that he was ever like really able to just be like, all right, I'm finished with homework. I'll see you in a few hours and just like run out the door and would come back like, at sunset. And I mean, over there in Washington in the summer, the sun doesn't set till like 9 p.m. So he'd come home like dirty, just smelly like a boy, but knowing that he had the time of his life, there'd be times where we'd be eating dinner and I'd look at my husband like, should I go get Rube? And he's like, no, let him be a kid. Go let him, he'll come home if he's hungry. And we're
Yeah,
like, oh, okay, sure.
yeah,
And it was just, I mean, I love that he got to have that because you don't really get to have that in a lot of places. And and also living in housing, I think it kind of there's a little like space of like safety because like
hmm
everybody's outside, if something looks weird, somebody's gonna say something, so like I'm so happy that we got to experience living there and that my son got to have like that, what you envision your kids like that experience of like having friends and riding your bikes till, the wheels fall off and coming back dirty and just hearing the giggles in your backyard. And that's just one of my favorite things is that my son got to experience that
yeah.
as a
That sounds
child.
awesome. Very,
Yeah.
very cool. Okay,
Okay.
last one here is what is your best party hosting tip?
Oh gosh, don't overthink it, I guess. Just because I always overthink everything, chronic overthinker, and then, by the time everybody's here, you're like not even thinking about the million things you thought would go wrong. That, I go through the same, me and my husband, I feel like either one of us goes through this cycle. It's like we have this idea, let's throw, a barbecue, blah, blah, blah. We're like excited. Then like the days leading up to it, I'm like rage cleaning and I'm also thinking about like like all the food aspect and all that. And then you're like, oh, is that enough food? No, that's too much food. No, does this dish go with that one? Does it flow? Does it matter? No, it doesn't matter. And then people are asking what you want them to bring. It's like, no, you don't want them to bring anything. But then it's like you do because you want them to feel like, oh, like, yeah, it's like kind of like, yeah, it's like, yeah, let's all participate. And then you're just like overthinking all of it. And then the doorbell rings and you open the door, everybody feels comfortable. And then you're not even really thinking about any of those things. Besides, like, if there's enough food. Uh, Number one, just make sure there's enough food, because you don't want hangry people in your home.
Yeah,
So don't overthink it and have enough food.
so good. And I feel like we've just got an insight into how what is happening in your brain the whole time. Oh, that's
Yeah.
good. This is probably going to time out here in a second, but I just want to say thank you so much.
Yeah.
and this will probably go out next week or so. So I'll make sure that I get it
Oh,
to you,
okay.
and all the
Yeah.
links and everything. But this was great. I had so much fun chatting with you. And yeah, I'll reach out and send it to you once it's out.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Amy. This was so much fun.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thanks.